Right, so in this video, we're going to be ranking email strategies all the way from F tier up until S tier. We're going to be ranking pop-ups, campaigns, flows, everything. So stick around, let's get straight into it. First thing we're going to be ranking is flows. And to begin, we have the post-purchase flow. And I'm going to be putting this at S tier. The reason I'm putting it at S tier is because it's one of the most underrated flows in your entire email strategy. If you're able to dial it in, you improve retention, you can upsell, you can cross-sell. It's just incredibly goated. Next up is the sunset flow, and we're going to be placing that at C tier. The reason I'm placing it at C tier and not above is because it's not necessarily the highest ROI flow. It's good for you to clean your list and to make sure that you're not overpaying for your Klaviyo account, but it's not the flow that's going to generate the most amount of revenue for you, and it's not going to be the highest leverage flow to focus on. Welcome flow, undoubtedly S tier. One of the best flows in your entire strategy. If you're able to fully dial it in, make sure that it's 7 to 8 emails long, overcome objections, talk about the incentive that you offered inside the pop-up form, you're just going to absolutely print with this. Not to mention, it's an incredible place to get your customers accustomed to your brand, to know your brand, to potentially overcome any objections that they might have before they end up going through with the purchase. Next up is the win-back flow, and I'm going to be placing that at B tier. If your brand has bad retention, ideally you want to set this up, but a lot of times it's not going to be the flow that's going to generate you the most amount of money. It is worth having, that's why I placed it at B tier, but it's nowhere near A tier or S tier simply because it's not the highest leverage to be focusing too much on this. Replenishment flow, I'm going to be placing that on A tier. If your product is a consumable and you're not already on subscription, then this flow is going to absolutely print for you. For example, if you're selling toothbrushes and you have replacement heads, it's a really good place to sell those replacement heads without being too spammy or too aggressive. It's just like, hey, do you need some more replacement heads? And it's very simple to run and can generate a lot of revenue if you do it correctly. Checkout abandonment flow, and I'm also going to place cart abandonment flow because they're pretty much the same thing. Both S tier, incredibly powerful flows, strong intent, and if you're not running these, then I don't know what you're doing. Browse abandonment flow, I'm going to place it on A tier. It's really powerful and it's really good, but I wouldn't consider it as powerful and as high leverage as cart and checkout abandonment, simply because it's a little bit further up the funnel. And if it's a little bit further up the funnel, it's not necessarily going to have the same impact to your brand as like cart and checkout abandonment, but it's still really powerful. For the birthday flow, I'm going to place it on D tier, simply because a lot of times to actually collect their birthday, it's an extra step for the customer, and that can actually get them to not necessarily opt out, but not opt in the first place if you're collecting that on the once the customer first lands on your website. But it can be a little bit unnecessary. Sometimes it can perform well, but it really depends on the brand, and it's definitely not the highest leverage flow for you to be focusing on. VIP and loyalty tier flow, I'm going to have to put that on A. A lot of times, these are going to be the customers that are going to be buying from you again and again, and you want to make sure that these customers are getting the best treatment and the best discounts possible, simply because these are the customers that are increasing your brand's retention by far. Now, the next thing that we're going to be ranking is the campaign angles. There's a few that are really good and a few that are really bad. A lot of these are going to be just for industry averages, and some campaigns can perform better for some brands and some campaigns can perform better for other brands. First up, we've got customer hero. I'm going to have to go immediately with S tier. A lot of times a real customer story, especially if it's a longer testimonial, is always going to perform incredibly well, and it's really good to build community, to actually tell the people that aren't convinced to buy your product yet what they can expect from buying the product and what other people are saying. It's like a social proof email, incredibly powerful. Run this all the time. Curated edits, we're going to be placing it on A tier. Reason being, a lot of times this can be high leverage, but it really depends on your brand. If you don't have that many SKUs, then having this is just going to be like a bestsellers email. That's why it performs so well. If you have a lot of SKUs, it's also going to be really good to segment based on what the customer is potentially shopping for. But it's also not going to be the highest leverage, because if you have a lot of SKUs, you have to segment the customers individually, and it can take more time, and it's just not going to be the highest leverage for you. Next up is catalog dump. Same as the curated edits, I'm going to place it on A tier. Reason being, it's kind of like a bestsellers email, and it can perform really well, but the fact that it's just a catalog dump with like 6 products at once can cause what's called decision fatigue. And if there's too many options for the customer to select, they're going to end up picking none. So I'd much rather have a bestsellers email with 2 or 3 bestsellers rather than just a whole catalog dump. But it's still a good email to run regardless. A mass blast to your cold list is going to be an account killer. Never, ever run this. It's the same message to everyone, and it's going to be sent to people who potentially aren't even engaging with us. And a lot of times this is going to destroy your deliverability and going to make you land in the spam folder way more often. Limited drop / restock, S tier. If you play your cards right, this can absolutely print money. And the reason it performs so well is because it creates that natural urgency. Because if it's back in stock, then a lot of times that means that it was out of stock in the first place, and the customer associates that subconsciously, and a lot of times it's the only urgency you need to get the customer to convert. Problem to solution, I'm going to place this on B tier. Only reason I don't place it higher is because a lot of times this is only specific for health brands or brands that solve a specific pain point. If not, if it's like fashion or jewelry, then it's very, very hard to call out the customer's pain point, because a lot of times they don't have a pain point. It's just about the fact that they want the jewelry to look good, or they want the fashion to look good. And the way that you show that it looks good isn't by addressing their problem, but showing how that product would look on somebody else, for the customer to see that product the way that it would look on them. Origin story, absolutely love this. This email performs really, really well. Also, add this to your welcome series because this can absolutely print. It introduces the brand, talks a little bit about the backstory of the brand, and it's an incredible email to keep the customers engaged, build community, and at the same time convert. Founder story, again, S tier. Plain text emails always perform incredibly well. Repeated last chance urgency, I'm going to place this on A tier. It's a really good strategy for your sales, and a lot of times if you play your cards right, it can perform incredibly well. My one concern with this is you don't want to affect your brand trust and your brand image too much by doing this all the time and making a lot of urgency emails and just spamming the customer too much. So this is really good, but you have to play your cards correctly. Us versus them email, I'm going to place it on A tier. This is a really, really good email. However, a lot of times it's going to depend on your brand, right? And for example, if you have a brand that doesn't necessarily solve a pain point, like we spoke about previously with health brands or whatever, if it's like fashion, you can do us versus them, but it's not going to be as powerful as just showing the product on somebody else. This is a really good email, but I'd run it only for brands that solve a specific pain point. Discount led send, really, really good as well. But my only concern with this is you don't want to be sending these too much, right? Like you don't want to be sending sales too much. You don't want to be doing promotions all the time, just because a lot of times it trains your customer to buy only when there's a discount or a promo, and that ends up affecting your margins and ends up affecting your whole customer journey. So you can run these, just make sure to not run them very, very often. Founder-based angle, I'm going to place it on A tier as well. Same reason as before. A lot of times founder-based angle can perform incredibly well, but it's really going to depend on the brand. If it's a fashion brand, if it's a jewelry brand, if it's something that's visual, a lot of times these plain text emails aren't going to do as good as an email that actually shows what the product is and how the product looks. Seasonal angle, I'm going to place this at S tier. If you do it correctly, like for example, during Halloween, during Christmas, during Black Friday, these can absolutely print. And a lot of times, these are going to be the emails that are going to make the most money for your brand. Overloaded campaign, I'd place that at F tier. You should never have more than one angle per email. If you have 5 different angles in one single email, the customer's just not going to understand anything and they're going to end up swiping out without even looking at it. Behind the scenes, absolutely love this email. This email prints. It does so well. I absolutely love this email, especially if you're a founder with some sort of social presence, and not just social presence, but if you don't mind showing yourself in front of a camera, this can be really, really good to build that authority as a brand, build trust with that brand, and really keep that community engaged. So I absolutely love these. Single product spotlight, I'm going to place that on A tier as well, just because a single product is very, very difficult to run if you have multiple SKUs in your brand, right? It's hard to figure out and pinpoint exactly what customers are doing. And if you want to do one product spotlight for a brand with multiple SKUs, you'd have to segment based on which product is selected, and that's just not going to be very high leverage. However, if you have one product or 2 products, 3 products maybe, inside of your store, then I definitely recommend running these. Comparison versus alternatives email, I'm going to place that at B. This is really good, but it only works well for health brands and for supplement brands, because the rest, it doesn't perform that well. For example, if you're selling an energy drink, it would perform really well if you do our energy drink versus, for example, black tea or coffee. Then you can say, oh, it's the more natural alternative, or whatever angle you can come up with. But for other brands, like fashion brands or even just other brands in general, it's not going to perform as well. Now, the next thing that we're going to be ranking is sign-up forms. To begin, we have the quiz pop-up, the multi-step pop-up, S tier. Run these every single time. Besides it being a micro commitment, the quiz allows us to understand the customer and tailor that welcome series based on what the customer selected. For example, let's say that you run an olive oil brand, right? And your customer is concerned about product quality, or they're concerned where it's harvested, or they're concerned about a third problem. You can see which problem they select and tailor the welcome series based off of that. For example, if they're worried about where it's harvested, you can send the customer an email based off of that and tell them exactly where our olive oil is harvested. I absolutely love these and I'd recommend every single brand to at least test it out. Persistent firing pop-up, remove these entirely. This is F tier. It's going to completely hurt your customer journey and your customer experience on your site, and it's going to increase bounce rates, and at the end of the day, it's going to end up increasing your conversion rates too. Single step email and SMS combo, I'm going to have that at D tier. Reason being, if on the first page, the customer doesn't even commit to the micro commitment and they have to already input their email and their SMS and then click the button to submit both of them, it's just so much friction and completely unnecessary. The customer is not going to subscribe and you can have really, really bad opt-in rates. Full screen mobile takeover with no close. So by no close, it's the no X on the top left or top right. I love these. These perform really, really well. The one thing you do have to be careful with is to make sure that it doesn't increase your bounce rates too much. But for every account that I've tested, I haven't really seen that be an issue. And they perform incredibly well. So I'm putting that at S tier. Spin to win, I'm going to put it at A tier. I absolutely love this. It's gamified, and no, it doesn't necessarily affect your brand image. It performs really, really well. The only reason I don't put it at S tier is because you can't actually collect customer data. Micro commitments, two-step. Again, I'm going to place this at A tier. Incredible, really, really good. Run it. Only reason I'm not placing it at S tier is because you can't collect customer data and tailor the welcome series. Classic single-step pop-up. I'm going to place that at C tier. It can do well for some brands, but in 2026, I haven't really seen them perform well at all. So I just recommend running a micro commitment or two-step pop-up. Footer embed, I'm going to place this at C tier. It's quite decent and it captures all the traffic that is high intent, because that means the customer had to scroll all the way down to the bottom of your website. The only reason I don't like it that much is because it's not the highest ROI. It doesn't capture the most amount of traffic, but it still sits there. It does its job. It just doesn't collect as many people as we'd hoped. Scratch to reveal, I'm going to place this at A tier as well. It's similar to spin to win. It's like gamified. I do like this a lot. The only thing, once again, is that it doesn't collect customer data. This embedded one, as like a back-in stock sign-up form, is really, really good. Only reason I'm not placing it at S or A tier is because it's going to depend a lot on the brand. A lot of times it's going to be really, really good for fashion brands or things that normally go out of stock, because this can actually perform really, really well if you do it correctly. And that'll do it for this video's ranking. Let me know if you want to rank something else after, maybe subject lines, maybe pop-up form offers, whatever it might be. If you're doing over 80K a month and you want us to take a look at what you're doing to see if you're doing correctly, or you want us to give you a roadmap, just click the link in the description. You can book in a call. And if you found that this video was helpful, I'd appreciate it if you left a like and if you subscribed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.